So hello everybody. I'm very indeed again, but like all the other speakers, honored to be here. And before to start, I would like to share actually a little bit of maybe a feedback that I would like to give to all of you, because it's for me the first time to this event. I've been many times to South America. I've been traveling around, but I must say this conference is really for me a very nice discovery, because you share a lot of how you are doing, what you're doing. I learned a lot in just 2 days. I arrived Monday evening, and yesterday I had a few meetings. Everybody was open. Today again, so I'm very pleased to be here, and I hope I will be able also to share a little bit of what I know about Europe, what we are doing in SARIA, but I wanted to thank you all and the organization for having me here. So today I've been asked to explain a little bit about the trends we have in animal fats and for biofuels production in Europe. I think it's a kind of a new hub who's coming. It started a few years ago, and you will see some of the numbers. But before I do that, what I wanted to show you also a little bit is explain who I am. Maybe it helps you also to understand why I'm presenting today the way I do it. So the first thing is I'm a French guy, I can't help it, but I'm a very happy European maker person. So I live in Germany. I'm working for an international company. I will explain you a little bit more about SARIA afterwards. And one of my first jobs was actually to be a pig farmer. And you will see that in my career, I had the chance, and that makes me also very proud, that I've been growing pigs when I started. Then I've been moving to the animal pharma business, where I was able to make them better and help the farmers, which I was before. And today, with what I'm doing in SARIA, I'm also very happy that I'm able to, upcycle and help further also these farmers. So I really see very complementary benefits of what we are doing in rendering for the whole agricultural business. So that's the first things I wanted to share. And otherwise, I'm very happy also because I have 4 healthy kids, a lovely wife, and she allows me to travel, and to do and meet all people like you. About SARIA, just maybe a few words. I've been working in SARIA since 2018. It's a family company. So they are German owners. It started more than 50, 60 years ago with Mr. Norbert Redmann. He has 4 sons, which are all now in the business. And they have different type of businesses. Actually, they are really expanded. So SARIA is really the original starting business but they're also having business in, let's say, water services. So there is another company called Remondis, which we call, let's say, the big brother, because it's way bigger than we are. So the Redman group, who owns all these companies, is very large. SARIA is just one of them. And you will see we have different type of businesses. So we are in recycling with Remondis. We are in goods mobility, I would call it. So logistics with another company called Rennes, which is also global like Remondis. And then one of the latest acquisition of the family Redman was in mobility of people with a company called Transdev. And still remaining, we have now Mr. Martin Redman, who is leading our board within SARIA. So within the Redman group, SARIA is still standing for all these years. You can see here some of these numbers in terms of how big we are. We are very big in Europe, where we are across Europe, going from Spain to Poland, Italy, or Norway. So we are very diverse. And what I'm very proud also is all this industry we are serving. So of course, the key thing is the raw material, the sourcing, but we also serve the food, the feed, the pet food. You've been hearing a lot about it. The fuel, I'm going to talk about it. Agricultural energies. And how do we do that? Is because we have different type of companies. And here I will try to go a little bit from your left to the right, explaining you a little bit what we are doing. So the ReFood is collecting green waste in general, but also UCOs. So this will be one of the, let's say, predominant business that we are doing all across Europe as well. And then we have what we call the SECANIM. And I will explain you a little bit later, but in Europe, due to legislation, we have what we call Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. I'm most involved in the Cat 3, which I will depict a little bit further later. But the SECANIM is all the risk material, Cat 1 and Cat 2. Then we have the EcoMotion, which is clearly biodiesel, where we take the animal fats, the UCO, and some vegetable oils to make TME, UCOME, that we can then mix with diesel, making it biodiesel for road transport mostly. Then we are our core business with two big entities, Sarval and Bioceval. Sarval being more the land business, so where we collect all the raw materials from the different slaughterhouses for chicken, pigs, cows, and so on. And the Bioceval, more the marine branch. So we have 3 factories across Europe, from Galicia, France, and Germany, which allows us to cover most of the seas over there. So these were all the rendering part. And then within our industry, we have also what we call a kind of a food and pharma division, which is more represented by the Farnessen and Devro, which is the casing business. And I had the chance to meet one of my colleagues from Devro who is living here in Medellin. So we are also worldwide with this. And moving forward in terms of value chain that Charles was explaining us, we have actually also a pharma business with BioBerica, which is our expert in heparin extraction. So these are all the business, and now you understand also why we are able to touch so many type of customers as described earlier. Talking biofuels, what happening in Europe? I don't know if all of you had the chance to visit Europe. So what I will try to do is give you a little bit of a glimpse of what's happening within the world of rendering. And one of the things which is very different than we have here is actually that our capacity are going down because there is less and less animals. So this is also one of the things which is very interesting of this market. We are a much more mature market, so we have different dynamics. Nevertheless, the biofuels is now really an option being played by many players in Europe. And you will see that with a kind of a map where you will see a lot of players. And then I will try to explain you very shortly what one of the main acts that SARIA has been doing in order to fulfill part of that gap for us. And then I have a small French expression at the end to kind of give you in a one word how I'm considering what we need to do, at least from a European perspective, in terms of biofuels for rendering. EU. And I'm starting with the bad news. It's easier. It's the number of animals almost across species, maybe except chicken, is going down. And this is not the first year. This is something which is happening since many years, and it will most probably continue. Here you can see that either in pigs, bovine, sheep, goats, the numbers have been decreasing. I gave you some of the numbers per species on the site. And what I wanted to also to give you a glimpse is an idea of what does that represent versus the rest of the world. So for example, France, which is the country which I'm coming, which is, as you can see, a cattle country in Europe, we only have 24% of the bovines from EU, considering the 27 countries. But that, looking at all the numbers of bovines in Europe, we have 5% of the population of the world. And even so, we have not so much. Our population is still decreasing of bovine. The most decreasing values currently in terms of animals are pigs. We have been losing 7% now. And even so, we are still representing 50% of the world population in pigs. And I will show you later on this next graph the population distribution across the world, I think that the pigs, this bovine, is all also related to environmental pressure in Europe. So what we, in a way, gain with what I will show you in biofuels, you know, the red directives that I will need to explain you. We have made a Green Deal in Europe, which says we want to have greener energies, which help us to develop biofuels. It does not help our farmers to have more animals. Today there is a lot of subventions, incentives from the different governments, from the Netherlands, from France, to actually more close farms, because they want to protect areas, so they give more regulations about number of animals you can rear on the size, how many nitrates you can put on the field. So today, the environmental pressure in Europe makes that farmers are quitting, as simple as it is. And the second thing, which on top of it could have an impact on the longer term versus actually the rest of the room here, is that maybe it will make us less competitive, because we will lose farmers, we will close slaughterhouses, and then what happened? I mean, so I think there is a huge debate today in Europe about what we call also the food dependency, being 100% independent of other nations. But the gap and the society is really pushing to have more green farms, which makes us less competitive and make farmers quitting. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. And here I wanted to show, I mean, because I also really like all these graphs and numbers, but I'm showing you what, for example, the population of cattle in 2021, and on the slide before you just have the reference where it comes from. And you can see actually Europe is definitely not the place where you have the cattle. I mean, Brazil, thanks to you, is big. Asia, with India, the buffaloes and others, is really big. America, those are the places where the cattle is. And what you see is a picture at one moment. Now try to imagine what happens about decades. And here I took the pigs, you can see on the bottom of this slide. In 1961, the bigger the bubble, the more pigs there is. And you can see that actually Europe, and I've been showing you what happened over the last few years, but 61 was actually a kind of a golden age where in Europe there were more and more pigs, and you see now the trends. And when you see in 2021 now what happened is actually China holds half of the pigs of the world. I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of that, but if you start putting it like this on the map, I think it's also talking like, hey, what are the others doing? I mean, I know Brazil is growing, but is it even growing fast enough? We could argue. And you can see on the top, this is the overall animal population worldwide. And do you know what happened in 1996? I've been discussing with some of you, and actually some of you also fear that, but it's ASF, African swine fever. It hits China. They lost 1/3 of their population of pigs in 1 year. That's if you wipe out almost Europe within 1 year, just to give you. So we have to be very careful also of what's happening in our world. And I think we can play also a role to try to educate. Going a little bit deeper about Europe, and this is what I was starting to explain you. We have something that you don't have. And I think it's very interesting that due to the mad cow disease crisis and other things, we started creating what we call the Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. So most of you might be aware, but depending on where you are categorized, the use of the MBM that you will have at the end will be different. So the Cat 1 is usually, as you can see, what we call the highest risk type of raw material. So it's mostly the spinal, the brains of cows and so on, which we then use a method 1, as we call it. And then this will be incinerated. So we sell it to cement or biodiesel for the fat. Now the Cat2 is more or less the fallen stock. So that could be dead chickens, whatever, but these are Cat2s, medium risk, also creating an MBM. The exceptions that we could use it as a fertilizer. And in principle, we are, in both cases, Cat1, Cat2, not allowed to export. Then comes the Cat3, which is our core business, which is what most of you are also doing. But this is actually everything, and Charles again was describing very well in terms of every species from animals deems not good for human consumptions because we just don't eat it. Even so, some other countries will do. And from that, we created even a very nice word, PAPs, processed animal protein. So that's what we are doing in Europe, which is more or less your MBM. And usually we use different methods of cooking, the method one being let's say the most tracting one, which is 20 minutes at 133 degrees at 3 bars. And the method 7 usually is more to protect the protein of our paps, to create more digestibility, so softer temperatures. We just have to be very strict on Enterobacteria, Salmonella, and Clostridium perfringens. And then it's validated by the authorities, the veterinarians, and then once a method at the factory is validated, so each and every factory can have a different methods, method 7, free, but each one is validated. Once it's validated, then I can start selling. So this is quite a big difference also because the way I can approach my markets, and since 2017 now, we can start exporting again our PAPs. So then we started creating also an international business within SARIA. I've shown you the numbers, so going a little bit more in details regarding what's happening for the rendering organization. And yeah, I would like also to thank my colleagues from EFPRA, which have been, there was a congress in 2024 where some of you were. I'm glad about that. I think those exchanges are always good. But here you can see the changes of evolutions of Cat1, Cat2. And why I put these numbers, I think it's because it's important also that you will see this is a full EU production. I'm not considering one factory, one country. I'm looking at the whole Europe. It's more than 430 lines of productions across Norway to them. And the level of volumes we are doing, which is, to be honest, especially when I'm starting to talk to biofuels companies, I would not say ridiculous, but very little. You can see we have 2.16 million tons of fat yearly, and we have about category 1 and 2, about 400,000 tons of fat within all Europe. I'm not talking SARIA, I'm talking the whole Europe. What's of this is going into biodiesel usage. I joined the companies in 2018, and at that time you could see that actually all our Cat1, Cat2 was going already in biodiesel. So that's also, for example, within SARIA, that's what we were doing with the Ecomotion business, doing TMEs and so on. I would say, oh, yeah, 95%, 99%. And you can see, not due to me, but in 2018, at that moment, Cat3 was still less, even so the production was 5 times bigger, was way less in terms of biodiesel. And then from there, it started peaking. And I think it's also because now we have all these players that I will describe a little bit later that makes within, let's say, 4 or 5 years, doubling their consumptions in animal fat in Europe. Today, even considering my Cat1, Cat2, 55% of my fats are consumed in biofuels in Europe. And I think we are going for more. What are the other usage? Because this is also interesting to know where do I pick up? I mean, I don't have more pigs, you saw it, I have less pigs than yesterday, but a bigger proportion of my animal fat is going into that. Obviously, clearly, what we call animal feed is going down. Oleochemical is also going down in terms of consumption. And pet food is struggling. but they are fighting. We have a big lobbying in Europe, especially from the pet food, but also from the feed, defending the more sustainable use of our animal fats within this type of destination, feed, pet food, or even oleochemie versus biodiesel. Because once you burned it in fuel, it's gone, right? I mean, I will never see it again. And that we should not forget. But nevertheless, biodiesel today is the #1 market for our fats in Europe. That is clear. And it will keep going that way. So, I've been trying to describe you a little bit what's happening. Why is that? Charles started talking a little bit about this red stuff. What is red? It's actually part of a much bigger plan in Europe, which we call the Green Deal, which started more than 20 years ago, which was driven by a directive #1, so the Renewable Energy Directive #1, 2, and now we are #3. And you can see the very interesting part here. I see, it does work. So what you have to see on this graph is this line. This is what you need to pay attention. We come from less than 10% of usage to target 2030, 29%. We believe, when I'm talking to the different people, experts, that we will be able to reach that. Now, this red 3 is actually, if you talk to more experts, will not make us able, within Europe, to achieve our Green Deal. Because within the Green Deal, we said we will have another plan, or sub-plan, which is called Fit for 55, 55% energy less in 2050. The Green Deal, we want to be climate neutral by 2050. The Fit for 55 is 55% less energy consumed or with renewable energies versus 1990. And the red is Renewable Energy Directive. Mostly here I'm looking only at transport. So it's aviation, maritime, road. We might be able to do it. At least all the players that I will show you will make it that it's potentially feasible. But maybe that's not aggressive enough from the industry in order to fulfill the Green Deal. That's first part. Now, I don't know how many of you have been in Europe, but it's 27 countries. Almost no one speaks the same language, different mindset, different cultures, and it's a directive from Europe. So every state, France, Germany, Poland, they can decide how much they will implement. Normally it's a directive, so they have to. But there is a lot of, let's say, subtleties that makes that at the end of the day, each and every country can push faster, quicker, moving more towards what we call GHG reductions versus electricity consumptions, because you have different ways to achieve this red 3. You can also use more electricity for your cars. In Europe, we tend to say 2035, there should be no thermal motors in any car. We will not sell it anymore. The Volkswagen said in 2030 they want to stop selling it. So biofuels will play a very key part, but each and every state will need to play part of that in order to really achieve it. Biofuels market in Europe, we represent 30% of the global demand. You can see we are about 18 million tons, and with a 2.2 CAGR, there is up to 2030, so we will be reaching 21 million tons. And you remember what I've shown you before? We are only producing, let's say, roughly less than 3 million tons of fat. So of course, you will see vegetable oils will be a big part. But I think also towards what we call the Green Deals 2050, other technologies like liquid hydrogens and so on, other type of sourcing of energies will come up. So I also believe biofuels is crucial for the next 5, 10, maybe 20 years. But if you really look forward many years towards 2050, there will be other things also coming. And now, I show you what we are doing in Europe. We have 3 million tons. Here you can see the type of biomass, vegetables, other things we can find in order to make those biofuels. So if I talk to Total, Neste, they have other type of feedstock they can use. And without going too much into subtleties, but we have an annex within the RED directives in order to decide which elements can be also double counting. So we have, for example, and it's becoming, I'm sorry, a bit technical, but the CAT 1, CAT 2 are considered in Annex 9B, if I'm not mistaken, and there is a double counting. So that means if I use 1% of it, because there is double counting, it's like counting like I'm having 2%. And this is to reach my 29% goal that I have at the end. So you can see the blue, dark blue on the right side. The animal fat represents less than 5% of raw material today to make biofuels. And it will go down percentage-wise because the biofuels demand will increase. They will use more of our animal fats, but it will increase faster than we can supply, I believe. The biofuel players. Some of them are most probably in the room, at least I've seen them outside. I think that the most interesting ones are the one that you should look are the what we call FR and under development. So all these dots, the yellow dots are the important one. So for some people who have very good geography, it's not me who made the map, so at least the French side, I can tell you, it doesn't fit what the name of it is, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what you have to understand, what I want to show you with this graph, this map, there is a lot of players. Neste, Total, Eni, Repsol, we have co-processing as well. We have, and I will come to that afterwards, we have also companies who are buying our fat to treat it, because our fat is not per se directly eligible for in their factory, so they need to clean it before they will be using for HVO. So it's the key point is that they're saying there is a lot of project coming. We believe we will be able to achieve and have enough fat for all this project, but I'm not too sure about that. And here I wanted to show you, because I haven't heard too much about that around the audience, but 2 key points usually, well, this is from what I understood in Europe, is nitrogens and heavy metals, which are in our fats. And here the key, the very interesting point is, depending on the process you will do, you would have a loaded or not loaded fat in nitrogens or metals, which will make it a premium type of fat for those HVO factories or not. So if I use wet dry rendering, where I'm separating first the fat before cooking it, usually I'm less loaded. Now, there is a big discussion also because, as I showed you a little bit earlier, my dear friends from pet food, they like actually that I'm cooking the fat with my PAPs because it makes a better palatability. So who am I going to serve tomorrow? I mean, I have to decide tomorrow when I do a new factory or if I have to renovate it, what process will I use? Will I be going more for the biofuels? Will I go more for my original pet food type? We will have to see, because they have specification. I think in 2018 when I joined, we were not talking about that. This is really new. And everybody's asking it now. And that's why you have companies like Lipsa in Spain, which are buying our fat, cleaning it, and then reselling afterwards. Moving forward, what is SARIA doing? I mentioned to you that we have already a business, Ecomotion, which is working into this biodiesel. And I think one of the key things for us is we have the sourcing, but we don't have the final customer. And what we decided in 2022, so 2 years ago, SARIA decided to partner with Total in France on one site, which is called Grand Puy. And this site was processing more than 6 million tons of fuel, fossil fuel. And for different reasons, Total said, well, we will make it a green factory for Europe. So they will do solar power energies, they will do bioplastic upcycling, and they will do HVO. But then they need animal fat and UCO for it. So they, after very long discussions, without going into details, we said, okay, we are interested, we want to go with you, and we will come partner on this. What does it mean? It means most probably SARIA is producing close to 500,000 tons of fat of Cat3. This site, only this site, will need production of SAF will be 210,000. So we will not bring all our fats to those. There is also UCO, which will be part of that project. But we will have to bring quite a sustainable, significant amount of fat to this site. This is what, and this site will start Q2 25. So I think it's very, for us at least in Europe, partnering with a company like Total, which have the final customer, it's close to Paris. They will have, they are already supplying Air France, all the airports, so they have access to these guys. So for us, it was a key milestones on how we want to drive our biofuel strategies for the next few years. But I think it's also important to not forget where we come from and what we need to do. So beyond, I think in our strategies, when we think of biofuels, we still need to think, and that's why I wanted to show you all these other type of industry we are serving. We should not forget our historical base, because in 20 years, maybe biofuels will be less demanding or looking at other things. So then we need to go back to pet food. But maybe they will be so irritated that they will say, come on guys, you know what? We buy vegetables for the last 20 years, right? So don't bother me. So we need to split our volumes. I think that's very key, and serve as much as possible also our historical clients. There are also some elements like processes and CO2 improve our efficiencies, which would be also key in order to develop more fat. I was talking with some people here also about new technologies coming to extract more fat. I think this will also help us to make more available. We need to develop new ideas in terms of products. Maybe our fats also could be, I have no idea, but be more valorized in a product we don't know yet. In SARIA, we have, today we invest also, we have an innovation department where we ask these guys, you know, there is a low-hanging fruit, but also something in 10 years, 20 years where you come up. So we're also looking into that. And then finally, maybe the easiest one, in terms of thinking, geographic expansion. And that's also one of the reasons I'm here, to look at what's happening in the rest of the world. I mean, in Europe, we are going down. Here, it's not the case. Is there people willing to partner with us also here? Why not? So these are all kind of things we are looking at. My take home, I don't know how many of you speak French, yes or no, but this is what I call the ha-ha effect. Aha. Every kids, when they are young and they don't listen to the parents, sometimes they have this kind of, aha, if I would have listened, yes. I think, and here the ha, I just for 3 words, awareness, humility, agility. The awareness is what I was trying to kind of tell you. I think there is many technologies. Biofuels is clearly important today and tomorrow, but not forever. Vegetables, oils are also possible. So we need to stay aware that we are a very small drop in the ocean, but we are a significant drop, I believe. That's humility. And then agility, that's what SARIA is trying to do. We partner now with Total, because they have the customers, they have the process, they know what they are doing. We were new to that, so we decided to leap ahead there and decided to associate with those guys. Integration can take different forms. We decided to go with that. But so if you could remember something maybe of all what I'm saying is stay humble, keep being aware, and then think of different types of things to remain agile in our business. I thank you for the listen, and I'm happy to take any questions. Unfortunately, I will have to leave tomorrow early, so rather take them now or later in the convention, because otherwise you will have to contact me by email or phones.